One of the greatest things I've learned is that we don't have to be defined by our past or our current circumstances. And I'm so grateful for that because only God knows where I would be. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to overcome life's challenges and reach your greatest potential. You're listening to episode 8 of
The Gold Mine Podcast.
As women, we have to invest that time in getting to understand who we are.
Be ambitious, be bold, create the life of your dreams. This is the Gold Mine Podcast with your host, Adrian Dion.
Hello, ladies. I am so excited to be back with you guys this week. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. I am so excited about this episode today because I have a special guest for you guys. I know the last couple weeks we've been talking about goals and creating the life that you desire. And my special guest this week has done just that. She is a phenomenal woman who's overcome so many challenges in her life, but she's been able to just create an amazing, wonderful life where she gives back to so many others. And so today we're going to be talking about how she's been able to find meaning in suffering, power in pain, and how she's been able to turn disappointments into opportunities for personal growth. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the show, Vickie. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'm super excited.
I'm excited that you're excited. So we did find out that we're kind of neighbors. You're like right down the street from me.
Yes. But I'm a Cali girl, born and raised.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised.
Were you born and raised in San Bernardino or?
I was born in Inglewood, in LA, and I moved to San Bernardino County when I was very young, so maybe around 5 years old.
Oh, okay. You know, the only person, well, not the only person, but Inglewood sticks out to me. Have you ever heard of Myleik Teal?
No,
She's the founder of Curlbox. She's pretty dope.
What is her name again?
Myleik, Myleik, I think. Or
Okay.
either IEK Teal,
Okay.
Teele. She's she's the founder of Curlbox. She lives in Atlanta now, but she always talks about her Inglewood background.
Yeah. It's a interesting place.
Well, that's pretty cool. So just to let the audience know that I found you kind of on Instagram and loved your page, love your inspirational aura. You have a very, awesome mindset about the future and just living your best life and making sure you're living full potential. Where did that mindset come from? How did you?
Well, you mentioned my Instagram page. So my Instagram name is tabla_rasa88. And I picked that name because it's a term in psychology that means a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
So given a lot of the things that I've been through in my life, I always felt like if I thought a certain way or if I made the right moves, that I was a blank slate, that none of those things would determine who I am or decide where I went in life, that I could write whatever I wanted on my tablet. And so that's why I picked that name. And that's why I started my Instagram to kind of spread that message to other people.
Wow.
So I kind of, I grew up in San Bernardino, as you mentioned, and San Bernardino is not, San Bernardino is one of the top 5 most violent counties in the United States. So coming from that, I've seen a lot of gang violence. I lost a lot of friends young to gang violence, shootings.
Because is that where the San Bernardino, is that where a coworker shot up somewhere or something like that? I remember on the news.
At the Inland Regional Center that happened last year.
Yeah.
That there was a shooting. There was a terrorist shooting at the Inland Regional Center, and that is actually about 10 minutes from where I live.
Wow. I never knew San Bernardino County was that bad.
Yeah, it's a rough place. It's a rough place to grow up.
Okay.
So with that, even in my own family, I've experienced drug and addiction, and what goes along with that lifestyle. Sometimes being in dangerous situations. I was raised by a single mother, um, who my dad was there, but again, because of what was going on in the area and him being involved with that, he wasn't always able to be there for us.
Okay.
Then from that, I got married pretty young, at 18. And yeah, yeah. And the whole time though I was in school, I've always been like dedicated to school. School is like my safe haven. I love books, I love reading, and I love learning. And I've always felt that knowledge is power. Like, I know it sounds corny, but I was raised on it, and it meant something for me because the more I learned, the more I was able to grow and improve myself, and the better my situation started to look.
Right.
So, so from there, I got married. Yeah, so I got married, and then I ended up having kids. And over the course of having kids, I gained about 115 pounds.
Whoa.
115 pounds total. Yeah. So not just the kids though. It was kind of a tumultuous relationship. So I was battling with some depression. I was battling against my own anxiety, and just feeling kind of stuck, not knowing what to do, not having a car, not having any type of transportation, taking the bus back and forth to school at one point while I was pregnant and with a 3-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So things were really looking pretty bleak for me for a while. And then being overweight brought health problems, as you can imagine. So then I was dealing with that, and I just felt heavy, not just physically, but mentally heavy, that it was hard for me to think even about what to do next or what I could do to improve, because so preoccupied with all of the things that I was confronted with on a daily basis that I felt like would not let me move, would not let me rise up and change anything, because I had to deal with these pressing issues, and I couldn't take time to do the things that I thought would change my situation.
Okay.
So when my marriage did finally begin to draw to a close, or I won't say draw to a close, but when it did start to really fall apart, in 2013, I had kind of my epiphany moment, where, and I think a lot of people may be able to relate to me on this, is just that moment when you are so down, you are so defeated, by life, that you're confronted with a decision, and the decision is, do I accept these circumstances, and do I live my life, in pain, or dissatisfied with the quality of life, or do I pick up these pieces and put together a new puzzle? And for me, I can just recall very vividly that I was laying on the sofa in my mom's house, and I was crying. I was just crying, and my mom had a treadmill in the same room with the sofa, and I was just looking at the treadmill, and I was crying because I couldn't even move myself from the sofa to the treadmill. I could not gather the strength physically. Yeah. Yes. And my baby came in at the time, and she was 4. She was about 4 years old, and she wasn't very verbal yet, talkative enough for a 4-year-old. But she just came and laid on me and hugged me, and I'm gonna cry just telling this, because this is where I made a shift internally, because holding her and thinking about what I knew I had to do, I just I decided that if I couldn't be strong enough to do it for myself, then I was going to be strong enough to do it for her.
Right. And and I'll just pause right there to let you get yourself together.
I'm sorry.
But no, it's fine. But no, I think it's a very good point that you made. A lot of times, we let life and things around us kind of beat us down, and some people do accept it, but I feel like we have a responsibility to pursue those dreams and things that we have down on the inside of us, because it it lays a pathway for the people that are behind us. So I don't have children or anything like that, but I do have a godson. I do have nephews, and I have nieces. And so it's like, for me, if I pursue my dreams and I open that, expand that world for them, they're able to see what's possible. But if I never do that, you know what I'm saying? If I never do that and I accept, I just accept the circumstances and accept everything that's around me, then what does that show them? That doesn't show them that they can do better or be better or can get past what's beside them. So I'm glad that you said that was a great point that you made. You had a
Thank
responsibility. And so if you
you.
couldn't do it for yourself, you knew you had to do it for your kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and what you're talking about in psychology, we call that protective factors. Everybody's protective factors are different.
Mm-hmm.
So mine was my daughter. Yours is your godson.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else's may be even their business.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's may be their reputation. If your protective factors are going to vary depending on the life you're living and where you're coming from. But for me at that time, that she was my strongest. And it's interesting that someone so small and unaware can provide such support to you,
Mm-hmm.
unknowingly. And that's another part of why I do what I'm doing, is because you don't know who you're touching. You don't know whose protective factor you're serving as.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. People see you, people are watching you, people are listening to you,
Yep.
and you don't know what you did or said. Sometimes even you think you're doing one thing to help them, and if you get to talk to them, I've had clients, and you talk to them 2 or 3 years later, and you're like, so what did you think about those interventions and all of that stuff, And they're like, well, actually, it wasn't none of that, girl. What really was is that, remember when you was getting out your car that one day and all your stuff was falling down, and I could tell you ain't ate all day, and you was running, and you were still there. You were
Right.
there, and you don't even think about that part.
Right.
You don't think about that part, but it's meaningful to other people. It's meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So then from there, I decided that I was going to lose weight. And I didn't have any money at this time. I was still receiving county assistance, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So like food stamps. And I didn't really know where to start. I had never had to lose weight before. I had always been active, like as a kid, as a teenager. I played basketball and ran track. So I
Mm-hmm.
had never been in that circumstance before. I didn't know where to begin. So I just did research. I did research. I decided I was going to treat it like a school project.
Mm.
And that's some of the advice that I would give to my clients currently is, what are you good at? What are you already good at? Now let's use that to expand the areas that you're not sure about, right? So I
Right.
knew already how to write a paper. I knew how to research things. I knew how to find out new information. And so I treated my weight loss journey like a school project.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
let me ask you one question. So I know that you said a lot of different things were out of whack for you. It wasn't just the weight. Why did you feel, or why did you choose to lose weight first instead of focusing on something else?
because the weight was the most apparent of the issues that I needed to address.
Okay.
So while I didn't have the insight into myself yet, to know what those other things were and how to address them. I
Right.
didn't know. I didn't know where. I didn't even know how to identify those problems.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I mean,
Um,
because I honestly feel like since I've lost so much weight, like, you do become a new person. You do think differently, and it's not about on what's on the outside, but internally it does something
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
Because you learn yourself. You learn more about yourself. When you're not thinking about your physical health, that right there is a huge sign for any type of provider that you're going to ever have. You don't even consider your physical health,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So a lot of times that could mean maybe you don't consider yourself in a lot of other situations as well. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? When you're in relationships, when you're making decisions, when you're at work even, maybe you have a hard time putting yourself first.
Vickie is preaching today. You
Oh,
guys,
thank
she is
you.
killing it. It's
Thank
so
you.
true. It's so true.
Thank
But I didn't
you.
want to stop you, but I knew you was gonna make a good point right here. So,
Oh,
but go
thank you.
ahead.
Thank you. So I decided that because the weight was the most obvious point of contention, that's where I would focus my energy first. And one thing at a time. You can't tackle every single problem. I knew I had other problems that eventually I would need to work on: my marriage, my relationship with my family, my spirituality, all these things I would need to work on. But I knew I didn't want to overwhelm myself. I was already overwhelmed by life.
Mhm.
I was already overwhelmed just by life. So I wanted to break it down and start with one thing at a time. And eventually they would all come together, as they have.
Right.
So just some of the particulars about my weight loss journey. I didn't even have a pair of sneakers. So when I realized that I didn't have a pair of sneakers, that made me think, Vickie, when was the last time you bought yourself something? You don't even
Right.
have a pair of sneakers. So now we're back to the point you were making before. This is how I started learning about myself. Then I thought, what kind of shoes do I even like?
Mm.
Well, what if someone wanted to buy me a gift? Would I even know what to tell them that I wanted? Because I was so used to not asking for anything,
Mhm.
giving to everyone else, doing for everyone else, putting everyone else first. And that's how I had ended up overweight, um, not very many clothes, and I always told myself, oh, well, I don't want to shop until I get my figure back right. I don't
Mhm.
want to shop until this or that. But it really wasn't those things. It was that I was so used to accommodating the needs of others
Mhm.
and ignoring my own,
Right.
So yeah, I went and bought myself a pair of sneakers, and I started off just running around my mom's block. But this time I was still even living with my mom. I was living with my mom in one bedroom with two kids.
Okay.
So yeah, so I started running around my block. I downloaded an app because I didn't know how to count calories.
Mhm.
I didn't know which foods were healthy, which foods were not. I didn't have no scale or nothing to measure the ounces of meat, all this fancy stuff. So I just got an app where I could scan with my phone barcodes on the foods that I was going to eat, or I could type it in and I could look up how many calories or whatever those foods were going to be, so that I could be able to keep track of how many calories I was taking in per day. And in the app, I could also keep track of the exercise, the different types of exercises I was doing. And this is goal mapping. This is mapping your goals,
Mhm.
right? Because when you're setting a goal, first you want to break it down to its simplest terms.
Mhm.
Then you want to set small milestones for yourself leading up to the ultimate goal,
Right.
right? And so this app was helping me with my milestones, because at the end of the day, I could look at it and I could say, today was a success.
Mhm.
Today I burned this many calories exercising and I only took in this many calories eating, and I can do that again tomorrow.
Right.
Now I know I can do that again tomorrow. If I could do it today, I can do it tomorrow,
Right.
right? So still throughout all of that, just going back and forth with my ex, still. Oh, I forgot to mention one very important thing. I grew up in mental health facilities. So my mom founded a nonprofit organization and turned our house into a home for clients with mental health issues.
Wow.
My room, so from the time I was like about 12, my bedroom was right next to, we had regional center clients, which are the clients of the organization that we mentioned at the beginning where they had the terrorist attack.
Yeah.
We served those clients. We also serve mentally ill clients, clients with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depressive, major anxiety disorder, all these things. So I was getting a first-hand understanding of what it means to live with mental health um, problems on a day-to-day basis. I could see what these people were going through and how they were fighting. They were fighting to just wake up in the morning,
That is crazy.
to just wake up. So, I'm sorry, that got me off track. I forgot where we were.
Oh, you were saying that you were able to see with the app that you were doing for the weight loss, you were able to see every
Yes,
day. Yeah.
yes. So I was able to track myself by that. And then while I was doing that, I was also still helping my mom run this business.
Okay.
Uh, I was still dealing with my ex. I was raising my first daughter. And then when my ex and I kind of thought we were getting back together, we decided to have another baby. And so then I was pregnant again.
Mm-hmm.
So things were really tumultuous for me and unsteady. And a lot of times I really just felt, why am I even trying to do all this? Why
Mm-hmm.
am I pushing forward with this? Why am I still trying to be in school? Why am I overwhelming myself? Well, the reason was that I later realized is that because I am a solution focused person. Um, I cannot stew in my own problems for too long. I have to see, um, I have to make a plan to get out. I have to,
Mm-hmm.
because if I don't, if I'm problem focused, then I am then depressed. I am overwhelmed. I am seeing no end in sight. So that's what I encourage my clients to do, is to try to, and I have specific interventions to try to help them to readjust their thinking to one that is more of a solution focused mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, a lot of times we get caught in these like conflict cycles, and we don't even realize that we're stuck in those cycles. So for me, for example, with my weight loss, the conflict is that, I'm overweight and I want to lose weight. Well, my response to that conflict is to lay on the couch and cry. And the results of that response are that I remain overweight. Right. So
Exactly.
that's the cycle that I'm in. And so then it feeds itself. It's a self-defeating loop that just
Right.
continues to feed itself, you know? And this is where we have control, is the response to the conflict. That is the part that we can control. So when you are experiencing a conflict, your response is going to be integral in deciding whether or not you can exit that conflict cycle.
Right.
So I changed my response to the conflict. I wasn't going to lay on the couch and cry anymore. I already knew what that was going to get me.
Right.
So I changed it to working out, riding my bike, trying to make workouts fun. I went to Zumba. I taught my daughter how to ride her bike so that we could ride together. I, you know, I just tried to mix it up, so that I wouldn't always feel like I was working so um, fervently and pushing myself so hard with that and exhausting myself.
Right.
Because
Okay.
that's another thing that I learned later on, is that I had a difficult time empathizing with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't give myself the same forgiveness and understanding that I gave to everyone else in my life. If I wasn't exactly what I thought that I should be, then it was a lot of negative self-talk to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you messed up, you failed, you didn't do it, you didn't, you can't come through for even yourself.
Right.
And so this all comes with developing insight. A lot of times people don't even realize what their self-talk sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
because they get so used to hearing it in their head, they don't even know when it's happening, because we all have a voice right in our heads, and it's saying something at all times. It's telling us what we should do next, how we should respond, how we should feel about what certain situations happen. But the thing that voice doesn't tell you is you have the power to control your own narrative.
Right.
This is your story. So you make that voice say whatever you want it to say, and then you live that, because whatever you make that voice say, that's your reality. That's your story. And you have
Exactly.
the power to write your own story.
And I think it was very interesting at how you would put yourself last all the time, but you would always be the first person to beat yourself up when it came to
Yes.
things. And I think a lot of people do that unknowingly. I was definitely a person that did that too. And so, how did you make that shift change, or how did that personal development, that self development start to where did you start to become aware of what you were doing, or how did it get to that point to where you started saying, okay, I'm not going to put myself down for this, I'm not going to put myself last anymore?
It's really not something that I think you can consciously just say, I'm done doing that. Because even still now, honestly, I do it to myself still, and you probably still do too sometimes.
Right, right.
It's not something that you could just say, "Oh, I'm over that. I ain't treat myself bad no more. I'm finna just only be kind to me and only put me first, and be looking out for my heart and my best interest."
Yeah, but
Because
see, that's the thing. I think a lot of people feel like if they choose to put themselves first, that means putting everybody else to the side. And that doesn't necessarily mean that.
because now that's a logical fallacy. That's like dichotomous thinking, like it's black or white, it's all or
Mm-hmm.
nothing, and that's not the case.
Right.
Nothing is nothing, nothing in life. Be weary of anyone who says nothing or all or everything or every time, because those terms don't really exist. Those
Mm-hmm.
terms don't really exist, because it's all something is sometime.
Yeah.
There's so much gray areas. So one way that I was able to start moving away from that kind of thinking is by having clear goals, by writing down my goals, and not just writing down my goals and my milestones, but also what are you going to do when you reach this? How are you going to show yourself some appreciation when you reach this next level?
That's
You
really
know what I'm
good.
saying?
Yeah. I like that.
So, and writing it down. People think, oh, I got it. I know what to do now. Thank you. I got it. But it's so easy to be in the moment when you're having the conversation, and then when you're in the moment where it's time to apply that information, to fall back into old ways of thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because how many years have you been thinking the old way?
Right.
You know,
It and
how
it
many
it
years have
takes a
you been
lot of
living?
time
Yeah,
to change.
yeah, yeah, it does. So I think that really helping me move out of that mindset was writing my goals down and being able to cross off that list that I was reaching the goals that I set for myself. And that was a self-esteem booster. And when your self-esteem goes up, then your positive talk about yourself goes up. It's all connected. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to be nice to me. No, you got to do the stuff so that you can feel the different feeling and then act a different way.
I love it. I love it. That's great, great, great points. And even with the appreciation, like you were saying, what are you going to do when you reach those goals? A lot of people leave those out. And you
Hmm.
expect other people to celebrate you and, oh, you're not my friend if you don't, I just reached this milestone. You're not my real friend but what have you done for yourself? So I
Yeah.
think that was a great point that you made. I'm going to definitely start doing that too.
Yeah, that's a good, thank you. I'm glad. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
yeah.
Because you know what? When your validation depends on the way other people, when your self-esteem depends on validation from other people,
Mhm.
you're going to continue to struggle. You will never be able to reach the level that you're trying to reach, because you're always going to be waiting for
Mm.
someone to tell you you've done well. Thank you. You did good. Now move on.
Right.
We
Right.
can't wait for other people to tell us that we did well. How? well, once we graduated elementary school, those days were over. All of
Mm-hmm.
those citizenship awards and appreciation for this and that and the other, that's not life. That's not real life. You know,
Exactly.
so they were giving us the tools that we were going to need to keep motivating ourselves. Now
Mm-hmm.
we can take that same stuff that we were doing then and we can motivate ourselves. Okay, when I reach my 15-pound goal, I'm going to celebrate by XYZ. It doesn't have to be expensive, you know, it doesn't even have to cost money. It could just be time to yourself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
how much time to yourself do you have? I'm gonna take a bath. I'm gonna light a candle. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna put on my favorite album. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things, your body and your mind appreciate those thoughtful gestures that you make towards yourself,
Yes.
and it will reward you by being there for you as you try to move on to the next level. But if you don't prioritize your emotional health and your mental health and your physical health, what can you expect to get out of your body? What can you expect to get?
Right. Right. I love it. So, you are known for maximizing potential and maximizing success for a lot of people. What type of advice would you give someone who may be listening who says, okay, I relate to all those things. I've tried to do it before. I've failed. I'm back in the same place. But I really want to get to a place to where I can grow and then like really something good can come out of it. I can understand my purpose and what I want to do. Where would you tell them to start and how to what types of things should they do to maximize their potential?
Okay, first they have to change how they think about failure
Mhm.
because problems, we can consider those challenges,
Mhm.
right? And failure is only measurable by the individual, meaning that we apply meaning to everything in our life. Our life is constructed based on our individual value system. So you decide what is a failure. Now, someone who says I failed, you can create the meaning of failure for yourself. You don't have, what does failure mean to you? I would have to talk to that person and ask them, what does failure mean to you, and have you reached that, and how can you adjust your mindset as far as failure is concerned so that we can learn from maybe an unsuccessful venture and next time not make those same mistakes.
Okay. So, how is your relationship with failure? Since you said you would need to talk to that person, what is your relationship with failure?
I don't believe that I can fail. I don't believe that I can fail. That's my relationship. I don't believe that failure is something that I need to worry about because I'm deciding that I'm a successful person and
Mhm.
I'm going to do what successful people do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm not going to let others on the outside tell me what my success level should look like. I'm not going to be comparing what I have to the next person and calling that a failure if there is a great disparity between
Mhm.
them and I, because you know my success and their success is going to be different because we're coming from different places with different goals.
Right.
And there's always someone who's got more than you. So
Mhm.
with that mindset, oh, I'm not where, I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. So many people my age, they have this, they have that, they have this. I don't have any of that, you know? And it's like, well, um, so many, let's look at that. Let's go to that person that you're comparing them to. Can they not point to 2,000 other people who are at their age who don't have that? You know what I mean? Who they could say now they're a failure. Now let's go to one of those 2,000 people who are doing better than that person. You
Right.
know what I mean? There's always someone who's got more, who's doing better. So if we're comparing ourselves to others, then that's not creating our own value system.
Mhm.
We're living off the value systems of others, and those are their value systems. You can't be successful in someone else's value system because it's not valuable to you. It's
Right.
to them.
Okay. So success and failure are both subjective things. So
Yeah.
it all depends on the way you think about it and the value that you give each of those things. Okay.
Right.
And so they have that now and they're ready to try and maximize their potential or figure out what it is, the like you talked about before, what they're good at, how can they use that and maximize to be better and to become more successful with that?
Well, first I would do like some positive affirmations with myself so that I can pinpoint where exactly I shine already. What am I good at? What do I know how to do?
What
I'm sorry, go.
could you explain what positive affirmations are?
Okay, positive affirmations is just positive self-talk, positive things that you can say about yourself that you have done, that you have accomplished, or that you're good at. You
Okay.
know, they don't have to even be. Some of my positive affirmations just include, I'm good at styling my hair different ways. You know what I mean? I'm good at being on time. I'm good at, speaking or
Mhm.
getting my point across clearly. So those are all things that I then will use to figure out, now how do I want to use those things to my advantage? What type of workout program then fits me? So if I'm not a timely person, do I need to be trying to make appointments to go to a gym and attend classes?
Right.
Is it going to work? Or do I just need to keep my running shoes by the front door, and then whenever I get my time right, then I just run out my door and start working out? It doesn't look the same for everyone. Everybody's journey is not going to be the same, but the end result can be the same. And the end result being the same can just mean that you feel confident and you feel successful in the choices and the actions that you've taken towards your ultimate goals.
Right. I love it. Okay. So you first have to know yourself, basically. You have to know what you like, and you have to start with getting to know yourself and not putting yourself last. Making sure your emotional and your mental health is A-okay. And
Yeah.
before, you can't just skip all that stuff. I'm just going to go straight to success because it's probably not going to last. So,
Right, because even if we're talking about a time that you failed, did you just run right out the door and fail? Or
mm-hmm,
was there a process leading up to that quote unquote failure? You know what I
exactly.
mean? So
Mm-hmm,
we want to build a strong foundation for our success.
mm-hmm,
That's what we need to do, and that comes with your goal mapping, with your positive self talk, with getting to know yourself. All of those things are building a stronger foundation for sustainable,
mm-hmm,
successful results.
exactly. Okay, so what are you doing now? Like as far as your career or your projects that you're doing. I know you said you are a life coach and you help people all the time. What else are you doing?
I'm also a behavior therapist in
Nice.
Riverside. So I'm working with youth who are at risk of losing their placement, either a placement in foster home that they have, or a placement with parents, a place with biological parents, or in group homes. Whatever setting that they're living in, that setting is at risk because of the dangerous behaviors that they have. So the clients that I deal with, they are physically aggressive, verbally aggressive. Um, to an unmanageable extent, to where, you know what, the next step is you got to move out of state and go to a locked facility.
Wow. That's
So those are the clients
intense.
that I'm working on. Yeah, that's intense. And then also I work on the board of directors for Tomorrow's World, which is a nonprofit organization that serves mentally ill clients in Riverside, San Bernardino, and LA counties. And we provide housing to clients, and we teach them life skills to help to reincorporate them back into the community. And even in that process, it's not just come on and live here, now we're going to get you a job. There's other things that need to happen. You got to be stable on your medication. You got to have protective factors, which means repairing bonds with maybe some people that you had disagreements with in the past, family, friends, doctors, teachers, long lost people. So there's all of this build up to really set you up for success. We don't just come and sit mobile homes on top of dirt. You know what I mean? We build a concrete foundation. We dig down into the earth. We put in stakes so that that home is stable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same way you want to treat your plans for the future. You want to make sure that they're sustainable and that they're stable.
Right.
Another thing that I'm working on is I'm organizing a block party for Black History Month for Rialto for 2019.
Nice.
So yeah, I have a few projects going on.
One thing I love about you and your whole story is that you prove my theory of you are not your environment. You are
Oh,
not a
thank you.
product of your environment, because I knew a little bit about your background, but I did not know that you grew up in a mental health home. And I
Mhm.
guess by that rule alone, you should be crazy.
Right. Right.
But you have gone through so much, but you chose to have the life that you have right now. You didn't allow anything else to determine that for you. And when you were well enough to be aware of it and to change it. And
Well, you know what? I can't take all the credit for that myself. I was fortunate enough to have a mom who demonstrated all of that to be possible to me. You know,
mm,
my mom grew up in the foster care system. Um, she never lived. She never got to live with her parents. All of her and her brothers and sisters were separated. She got involved in gangs. She got involved in drugs. She got involved in all type of things that could have led her astray. And at the end of it all, she worked for a company. She used that saved, established her own business, raised 4 girls. I mean,
wow.
she's phenomenal, an amazing person. Like my idol, role model, everything. Everything that I have ever done, I attributed to being able to watch that wonderful woman work.
That is awesome. Well, the apple didn't fall far from the tree at all.
Thank
You
you.
very
Thank you.
resourceful, and I just love you, especially like your weight loss story of like, I didn't know what I was doing, but you didn't let that stop you. And a lot of people do that. Like, I don't have money for a program, or whatever,
And my
and
mom
they
was like, "You better just run, girl. You better run. You know that's gonna do something. You ain't running now, are you? You better start running." And I was like, oh my God, Mom, stop saying it. And then I would be outside running around the block and she would drive around in the car and be like,
oh my
put your
gosh.
arms up when you run sometime. Do that too. Yeah, do some of this. Oh my goodness. Can you go home? I'm running already. Like, I don't need all this extraness.
I love
So,
it. I love it. That is so funny.
yeah, you better run. And she still says that today. Anytime anybody's struggling with their weight loss or anything, she's like, you know what I told Vickie? You better run. Just run. That girl started running. You see that weight came off.
She's a believer in that running. That is so funny. Well, that is awesome. Thank you for coming on and sharing your
Thank you
story.
for having me, Adrian. I really appreciate it. It is such a blessing. Like I'm just encouraged so much by women like you creating a platform for other
Yes.
young women, and to encourage us and to just build us up, because we really need that. You know,
Yeah.
we need each other. We are stronger together than we are as individuals. You know, and
Yeah.
we can be wonderful together. We can. And so you've been a person for so many women, and it's very inspirational. You're doing such a wonderful work, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, for anybody that is listening, do you have clients that you help that are not in your area, in San Bernardino?
Yes. Yes, I do. So, the best way to get in contact with me right now is to contact me on my Instagram. It's tabla_rasa, and I'm going to spell it for you. T as in Tom, A as in apple, B as in bottle, U as in umbrella, L as in la la la, and A as in apple again. Underscore Rasa, RASA 88.
And
So you can inbox me, and I do free 15-minute consultations. We can do it by phone or by Skype. And I also do travel to my clients. So
nice.
there's that opportunity there too.
Nice. You guys, I'm telling you, she is the bomb. She will get you from
Thank
where
you.
you are to where you want to be. So make sure you guys hit her up, and I'll also put all of that stuff in the show notes. So anybody that wants to get in contact with Vickie, I'll just go to the show notes. I'll have all that information in there. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
Adrian, it's a blessing. I'm appreciative. I'm gonna just say a prayer after we finish this and just thank God for all of the just wonderful things
Yes.
that I've been able to be a part of this year, and I just can't be grateful enough,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's awesome. All right. Vickie is so awesome, and I'm so happy I was able to meet her. We're planning to collaborate in the future, so I'm really excited about that. If you guys are interested in donating to her charity, it's a nonprofit organization that serves the mentally ill and homeless population in San Bernardino, Riverside, and LA counties by providing them with housing and independent living skills training. So that's really dope. You can find the link in the show notes and be able to donate for that. Also, if you guys haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to the show, rate and review. It really helps out with the exposure of the show so we can get this message and information in front of a lot more people. I really appreciate it. Also, tune in next week. We have another special guest coming that I'm really, really excited about you guys hearing her story. So until then, you guys stay awesome, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.